You're listening to the Patriot Nation podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation podcast. Of course, a proud member of the CLNS Group of Podcasts. Make sure you download, subscribe to all of those shows in the Patriots Press Pass Network. But tonight, it's the Patriot Nation podcast, and it's a very special episode of the Patriot Nation podcast because it is your guy, Pat Lane, here with a very, very special guest. It is Murph, as always. Murph, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. Matt was a little under the weather, and we got a solid pinch hitter here.
There you go, calling me off the bench to come in and pinch hit for an all-time great. I'm happy to be here. Hope to help the ball club. Thank you for asking me, Pat.
Yep. Yeah, this is like the Blue Jays. Who's the guy that I don't know who the guy was, but didn't the Blue Jays have a guy come up and pinch hit and hit a home run the other night or something like that? So
don't put me on the spot.
Schneider?
With names. Right. No, that's not right.
Whatever. One of those guys.
Somebody in the chat room will get it to us.
Hashtag World Series. Yes, World Series going on. Anyways, so we're here to talk about the Patriots, though.
Yeah.
And I want to lead off with this guy right here over my, if you're listening in podcast form, I'm pointing directly now over my left shoulder to my signed Marcus Jones jersey.
Oh.
Marcus Jones getting a 3-year, $36 million contract extension running now through 2028. And I think it's a bargain.
Oh, God, yes.
Today was named Defensive Player of the Month.
Yep.
And he's just as good on special teams as he is on defense. It's great.
Right. Not the week, the month.
Yep.
And this is long overdue. This is something that I know you have, I have, and many others have been calling for since last offseason, even the offseason before, when the Patriots were handing out contracts left and right. Have you seen the particulars of this deal yet?
Yeah, so the money's fairly low the first 2 years.
Yeah.
And then it kind of bumps up to, I think it's like 17 the last 2 years or something like that. But to me, $17 million in 4 years is nothing, Nothing. So I think it's a great deal for the Patriots. And listen, he's a small guy, right? He's dealt with injuries in his career. And I think that, there's a risk for him once he gets to, 31, 32, even 30 of, breaking down a little bit. But the way that he's playing right now and specifically the role, it's so funny because, Matt was on the show talking about, like, I don't know if there's a scheme fit. I don't know if he's a scheme fit or if there's a role for him this year. And he wasn't wrong. He certainly wasn't the only one in Patriots media talking about it. Matter of fact, the Patriots themselves talked about that, Vrabel and them. And he's kind of adjusted his role. The Patriots have adjusted the role that they want for him. But, it's one of those things for me that, like, the value of him is incredible. Now, of course, he's named a captain this year. Like, everyone knows how I feel about Marcus Jones, but I you see it on the field every week. He's been awesome.
He has been. He's been everything that you could hope for and more, both special teams and in running the slot. And he's going to have another tough test this weekend, and I think he's up for it. He's been up for everything that that they've put in front of him this year. He was made a captain. And ironically, he might end up being the last man standing out of the Belichick era here in New England.
It's kind of crazy. There's not many guys left.
It really is. No, there really isn't. And I'm sure that you're going to touch on that in a little bit.
Yeah, Christian Barmore maybe could stick around for quite a while.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
With what happened last week in the first quarter, when we were all scratching our heads wondering where Christian Barmore was, I think you tweeted out something about it before anybody else had noticed that he hadn't started in the game. And Vrabel, I don't want to say came down really hard on him, but in the press conference, he was kind of, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, kind of talk in as to how Barmore is affecting this team and how he's not going to let him affect this team. That he's in charge here, and it's his job to make sure that everybody's on the same page and not dragging this team down in any way. Now, with even with the hard hitters that we have covering the Patriots, we're not really sure what happened there, but
Right.
I like the way that Mike did it. This wasn't a Butler situation,
Yeah. Right.
where he
Right.
sat down the entire. No, you're sitting out the first quarter. You're sitting out the first half. You know, it was Belichickian, but the hammer wasn't put down in the way that Bill always did, or
That's
always seemed to do.
It's a good point, and I think too that when you, yeah, I mean he's been so good, but
Yeah.
again, you have to kind of bring that. And I think it's so funny because Vrabel has been very player friendly, and
Yep.
he's been talking about, and some of the ways that he talks about it, and bringing guys up and bringing guys along. And I think that he's done a really great job of that. But he also has to hold guys accountable, and I think
Right.
that's part of it, right? And so we'll see how Barmore reacts to that. I think my hope is that it's water under the bridge and we're good and we don't have to worry about it anymore. But certainly. There certainly could be issues here and there, and if that happens, that happens.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I think the right move by him to do that.
It's a very fine line that you have to walk as a
Mhm.
head coach. It's something that Josh McDaniels has not been able to do. I've said in the past that when you're an assistant, when you're a coordinator, it's easy to be everybody's best friend.
Right.
It really is. You can't really be that when you're the head coach. All right.
Right.
When you're coaching anything, there has to be that line between friend and boss. And Mike has been really, really good at that. I don't think I noticed it when he was in Tennessee, but I'm definitely seeing it now that he's there to smack you on the ass when you need it or when you deserve it.
Right.
As in good job. And he's here to, one of my famous lines is to my ball players is, come over here, turn around so I can hit you in the back of the head. And then you
Right.
just get a little boop and off you go. And
Right.
he's doing a fantastic job with that. And I think he handled this brilliantly.
Yeah. So two guys that were drafted by Bill Belichick. One, matter of fact, surrounding the Barmore years, right, 2020 and 2022. In Kyle Duggar and Keon White both traded this week. 6-7 trades, in case anyone cares about that. They were traded with a 7th round pick and got a 6th round pick back. And I think that both of those deals, and there's a few questions in the chat, which we're going to get to, but there's a few questions in the chat about, who they could trade for. And I think this gives them some flexibility. I think the big thing about Duggar is that they were just paying him way too much money for them to justify. I mean, he's a backup safety in this scheme, and it just doesn't make sense to pay him a ton of money as the backup safety. It's just kind of silly. So I'm not surprised by that. I'm also not surprised by the Keon White move. Now, I also wouldn't be surprised if Keon White went to San Francisco and had an instant impact in San Francisco. I think that, there's something to be said for a guy. And first of all, San Francisco's got zero depth right now. But I think San Fran is a team that, can let him loose on the inside a little bit. And he's a good inside rusher. He's useless on the outside against the run and the pass. But if you put him in as a sub rusher on third down inside, I think he can be a successful player. It's just that you got better players that do that better here. It doesn't make sense to keep him around anymore. And so you ship him off and hope that he can do, better somewhere else.
Yeah, you really do. I did not agree with the move. I did not think that we were deep enough to make this move right now. I definitely didn't like what came back. I was a huge White fan when we came off the draft board. I've been waiting for him. We've all been waiting for him to break out. But it simply comes down to, in my view, how this depth chart is affected by the move and what the Patriots are going to do to fix that by Tuesday.
Right. And you're totally right about that. I think the thing for me is that I think what their plan is to get another edge rusher, but one that fits their scheme better, right? Because Keon White, again, on the edge is useless. And so really what you're giving up is a guy that's a really good pass rusher in the middle and the inside.
Right.
You have guys that can do that already.
He was what Bill hoped Dominique Easley was going to be.
Right. And again, I even think that he's not quite as good as they would hope, obviously. No. But I think, he brings you some juice on the inside. Well, you got guys on the inside. You need guys that can pass rush from the edge. And look, I love Anthony Jennings. I think Anthony Jennings is an NFL caliber player.
Right.
He's just not a dominant edge rusher. So and that's okay, but you really only have 2 edge rushers. Now, if you want to sit there and tell me that, well, okay, one of the kids, right, 91, for God's sakes, what the hell's his name? Elijah Ponder, or Braden Swinson, or the kid that they signed, the kid that they claimed off of waivers. Yes, thank you. If any of those 3 guys, if those are the guys that are gonna, that maybe they're gonna step in and get some reps, that's fine. I don't necessarily love any of those guys, and so I think it makes a lot of sense for the Patriots to go out and get a guy. And some names got thrown around in the chat, but I think a guy like, Arden Key, I think makes a lot of sense. Okay. And there's a few guys here that, and actually I'm going to bring it up. JS Pina says, so Simmons I think is a long shot. I can't imagine that the Titans give up Simmons. I would love that. I'm sure Vrabel would love that too, but I highly doubt it's going to happen. But Cam Jordan's an interesting one. He's an older player. I don't know if he fits exactly what they're looking for, but the Saints are terrible, right? Maybe the Saints would be willing to move on from him, but I also don't know. Like, he might just say, I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in New Orleans. Like, let me stay here. I'm not going anywhere. I don't care about winning. This is where I am. This is where my family is. I'm not leaving. And they, I would assume, would just accept that. Between tackles here saying, Arden Key would be a great fit. I think Arden Key is the name that makes a lot of sense. You don't have to give up a lot to get him. You're going to end up doing the same type of thing, for a guy like Arden Key, where you give up a 6th and get Arden Key in a 7th back. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just
what they got over the weekend. They can, over this past few days is something that they could use to bring in a guy like that. I agree.
Right. Also,
I want to throw a name. I want to throw a name at. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say one quick note about the Keon White trade that I did not mention. That I forgot to mention was that the Patriots get their 7th round pick back if he's active for 7 games with San Fran. So if he can go out there and make a little bit of an impact, and the Patriots get their 7th round pick back, again, it's not much, but they get something back, and so they're getting a 6 straight up for Keon White if that's the case. And so, so we'll see.
All right, a name that I haven't heard mentioned a lot that I think the Patriots should be interested in and won't cost them a lot is the New York Giants' Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah.
I think that he's somebody. Yeah. I mean, the Giants. They just went out and drafted Abdul Carter. They have Brian Burns under contract for a while now, and this might be somebody. He's in the last year. You might end up having to give up a 6th or maybe a 5th round pick for him. Do you think that might get it done, Pat? And I think that he could come in here and wreak a little bit of havoc off the edge. He's that bendy kind of guy that the Patriots are looking for, and maybe they could sign. He sees what's going on here. Maybe they could sign him to a decent contract, and he'd stick around for a little bit. It wouldn't be just a rental.
Yeah, I honestly think that Thibodeau would be a great fit. Now, I wonder if did they pick up the club option for him for next year?
No.
They did not. Okay, so he's a free agent at the end of the year, right? The Giants aren't very good. They drafted Abdul Carter for a reason. They have Brian Burns, as you mentioned.
Right.
Like, I think the trade makes a ton of sense, and I think you're right. Now, listen, I'd be willing to give up a 4th round pick for him. Right? Like,
if he sticks around, if he's going to sign a contract, I'd give up a 4th.
But you know what?
I see you in there, LJ. Thank you.
Yeah, even if he's not, right? And LJ says, he's should be available and he's not in the future plans. I agree. I think even if he's not going to sign, like even if you're not 100% sure that he's going to sign with you long term,
Right.
I think it makes sense. I know between Zach was saying no rentals, and I agree with that to an extent. He would be a little bit of an exception for me because he's not necessarily a rental. You're hoping that he resigns, but you're not going to overpay for him. If he comes in here and is dominant, someone's going to sign him to a big deal, and it's not going to be you. And whatever. But so what? If
it's
he
a
comes
fourth
in as
round
dominant,
pick. Look what this team is doing with fourth round picks over the past 3-4 years.
Right.
Okay. And if my favorite person, Mr. Wolf, is still sticking around and has an input, a fourth round pick means nothing.
Yeah. Well, and not just that. I think the other part of it is that if he plays well enough to justify getting a big contract from other people, you've gotten enough out of him.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so,
I believe, do we still get compensation? I don't know. Where's Miguel when we need him?
Yeah, I know, right? I don't think so, but maybe I don't think so though. That we'd get a compensation if he signed a big deal. But it's a good. That's something. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure if you get it. I mean, I wouldn't see why not, but I don't know.
Yeah. But that was one name that I came up with, and I mean another one we were talking about in the chat that I think could fit in here. A lot of people have been talking about Trey Hendrickson. I am not going there. I'm really not. But Tony Pollard, in Tennessee, I think would be a really good fit here. And over the past couple of weeks, Rico Dowdle, out of the Panthers running back, they've got a young core there. He is on a 1-year deal. And he is a running back that could come in here and really help out. And I agree with a lot of the folks in the chat room who said that that's really a position of need. It's really getting thin around here, folks. You know, it's getting thin, and help is going to be needed. There's a lot of football left to be played here, and I don't want to end up short in the backfield, and that could happen.
And listen. I think it's a great point, and I think the other part of it for me is that, not that I don't want to say the Panthers stink, but the Panthers do stink. Yeah. And he's got the only issue that I have with Hubbard is that his deal is fairly large.
Yep.
Right. And so that's the only thing that I see with him that I don't love, that he has a fairly big deal. Now, the thing is, if you trade for him.
No, I'm not talking about trading for Hubbard. I want to trade for
Pollard.
Rico Dowdle.
I don't know what that.
No, yeah. No. I don't want to trade for Chubb Hubbard. No, I don't want that money on the books. Dowdle. Am I pronouncing that name right? Rico Dowdle.
Right. You got it.
Yeah.
I don't think Dowdle. I don't think they're going to trade Dowdle. I think that he's, to me at least, he's a significantly better player, and you've seen that he's a significantly better player than Chuba Hubbard. But I think Pollard, like you said, makes sense because again, Tennessee stinks.
Yep.
Right.
But my thing is, why would Dowdle stay there? The Panthers stink. They're terrible. He's on a 1-year deal. He can walk at the end of this year with
which is true,
without any trouble whatsoever.
Well,
and Chuba is like you said, locked up.
Which is a fair point. That's a fair point. And maybe, listen, I think you give him a call and you ask Carolina, like, hey, what would you take for him? And I think, if they're willing to go, the problem is that you may have to pay a little extra for him. Like, I think you can get Pollard for nothing. You know, and that's really one of those things that, like, I think makes a lot of sense. And Jay's been just talking about Charbonnet, but that's not going to happen because he's basically in a timeshare with Kenneth Walker. They're basically, even though he's the backup, they're like really 1A and 1B. But I think if people, LJ and multiple people have mentioned Breece Hall. I have no interest in Breece Hall. I know Breece Hall is a very good running back. The problem is he's young and he plays for the Jets. So you're paying a premium because he's good and he's young. And you're paying a premium because he plays for the Jets, and it's just like
the Jets aren't doing it.
Right.
Please, people, stop.
You'd have to blow them away.
There's going to be nothing that comes here from Miami, from New York,
Right.
from Gang Green. They're not interested in helping the Patriots out. You would have to seriously overpay to get
Right.
any of those guys.
Right. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. LJ also said he would trade 2 first-rounders for Myles Garrett. I might consider
there you
it.
go.
I might consider it.
I'd think about it. I'd really think about it.
I'll tell you what, I'd definitely trade one.
Thinking
for
about
sure.
Yeah, where the Patriots might end up, or we're hoping they end up picking, like in the 20s over the next couple of years. Yeah, I would do it. And if even better, if I could get them to skip a year, like throw in a third, 2 firsts and 2 firsts, in 2026 and 2028 and a third in 2027, just to get them to go for it.
Right.
I'd really love to have it. The man is just a machine.
Yeah.
And when he's and that's even when his teams are not good. I don't feel bad for him because he signed up for this.
Correct.
He had a chance to force his way out of town and become a free, and he signed up for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me have all of it.
Oh yeah.
All of it.
Old Man Mob also mentioned Jerome Ford. I think that he's an interesting name to look at too.
Yep.
More of a receiving back than he is necessarily like a pounding running back.
That's it.
But nevertheless, I think he's a decently talented player who always seems to play well when he gets the opportunity to play.
Right.
He just doesn't get the opportunity to play very much because he's okay. But he's just not
what
very
I'm
good.
What I'm looking for is an A gap, B gap running back. Okay, that's what this team is lacking. It's not something that Ramondre really is. He's not somebody that breaks a lot of tackles, makes a lot of people miss tackles when you're in there. When he gets to the C and the outside, he's pretty good at it. But when there's no hole there, he's not somebody that makes one.
Right. Yeah, it's true. So,
I'm sorry. Am I talking too much?
No, not at all, sir. Not at all. So yeah, no. And listen, I think that. And someone mentioned it earlier, and I don't know, but I'm not sure who it was because way up there. But I'm not expecting any blockbuster trades, right? I'm not expecting the Patriots to trade a first or second round pick to get some stud guy. It usually doesn't happen at the trade deadline, anyways.
Right.
But one of the the last big name the Patriots traded for at the trade deadline was Aqib Talib.
Yeah.
And that was obviously when they traded for Mohamed Sanu as well. They traded a second round pick for Mohamed Sanu, but it's that one obviously didn't work out as well as the Talib one. But it's one of those things where I just feel like.
And I didn't like the Talib trade.
I know it worked out pretty well.
Worked out pretty damn well.
But,
at the time he'd spent more time in the tub than he did on the field, and that really bugged me.
Yeah.
So but no, that worked out fantastic. He ended up being perfect for that situation and that head coach, and and no, I'm with you. I'm seeing depth moves made.
Yeah.
By Tuesday, and I'm hoping that that's what happens, because like I said, it's really thin ice here, and it's about to get cold, and those those hits are going to start adding up.
Yep.
And I hate to say this, and I'm going to ask this to everybody here. I kind of agree with Mike Felger and what he's been preaching about a backup quarterback. Do the Patriots need to find a better backup quarterback than they have in-house right now? Personally, I like Cutlets sitting there in the wings, but does anybody think that needs to be addressed?
I don't think so. I just, for me at least, I don't care about the backup quarterback. Like, I think that Josh Dobbs mentally gives you what you're looking for as far as understanding understanding the playbook, understanding what's going on, and being there for Drake May to kind of learn from.
Mm-hmm.
But and DeVito's fine. Like, I think if Drake May would have missed a game with injury.
Yep.
I'd probably rather start DeVito than I would Dobbs. But if look, if Drake May goes down,
it's toast.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter.
And so that's really kind of my thing is that I don't really care about him. I don't really care about the backup because it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't help me this year. And I think, listen, if you want to, in the offseason, if you want to prioritize getting a backup, what's called quarterback, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with prioritizing that. But I don't necessarily think that that he's a guy that that I need to upgrade from, because again, if
you're right.
You know what I mean? If it's oh well, this guy's a little bit better than Josh Dobbs, maybe he is, but like, how much better is he really? You know what I mean? Right. And so,
no matter who's in there, we're not winning a playoff game.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
That's the way I look at it. A few people mentioned it, but Old Man Mob is asking. Old Man Mob and LJ actually mentioned him.
Yep.
But Jackson Powers Johnson, guard from the Raiders. He's still young, was drafted last year. Could he be a guy that's on the move? Maybe.
I don't see them doing it, but
yeah.
Am I going to give up? I think he went in the fourth round last year.
I think so.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he went in the fourth round. So you would probably have to give up at least that. Maybe a fifth rounder to bring him in. And he's better than what's on the roster right now starting. And
by the way, he was a second round pick last year.
Oh, he's a second round pick. Okay. He's better than what you have on the roster right now. You guys all know how I felt about Wilson coming in. I had him mocked up to the Patriots, almost exactly where he went, but he's playing out of position.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult. I was hoping that he was going to come in here and get a year of understudy under Andrews, which did not happen. And he is. It's difficult to slide left. All right. It's much easier to slide to the right than it is to the left at any position.
Right.
And asking him to slide over there and be next to another rookie that I don't want to say is out of position. I'm past that, folks. I'm past it. He's a good serviceable tackle, but to have two rookies over there makes it even more difficult. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be against that. It's just what would the price be? And if the Raiders gave up a second round pick, I think, and they're disenchanted with him, they would want at least a third coming back. I'm not going to give up a third for that kid.
Well, and this is the issue with me, is that Old Man Mob saying he's been benched multiple times.
Yep.
Carroll has an issue because he told him he wants to play center and he's playing guard. We're going to trade for him and then put him at guard. It doesn't make any sense. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think, I will say I was impressed with Wilson last game. I thought that you saw some growth from him.
Yep.
It's certainly in the run game, and his ability to get down the field, to get
these
to the
guys
they're
very athletic. And if you read me, you know that I've been begging Josh to get these guys out and moving, and to get our running backs out to the edge more, getting that outside zone going. And that's the game that he plays. That's the game he played at Georgia. He's able to do it because he's that athletic. If you caught him at the combine, he was one of the most athletic linemen there. And so no, Pat's absolutely right.
Yeah, and some people are saying put him at center, but I think Bradbury's been fine.
Bradbury's been good.
So the run blocking maybe is not as good as we'd like to see it, but the pass blocking's been great. So it's just kind of like you say, all right, well, that's, I don't, and again, the big thing for me is continuity.
Yep.
They, for one game, Jerry Wilson was hurt, and so he didn't play. But outside of that, you had the same starting five all year long. It's been working pretty well. Just stick
the last
with
3 weeks. The last 3 weeks it really has.
You know, and I think I wouldn't mess with it. Maybe he's a guy that you could trade for in the offseason if you thought, listen, we like Wilson at left guard and we're going to leave him there.
Right.
And, maybe Powers Johnson's a guy we want to put at center. But for me, at least right now, I want to keep things status quo the way it is. Things are going okay right now. You want to add a depth guy behind that? That's fine.
Thank you.
But I just don't think I'm going to trade for a guy especially a guy who hasn't played center in the NFL.
That's it.
And take out my starting center and put him in at center. That doesn't make sense to me.
No.
I guess again, where Bradbury's been fine. Bradbury hasn't been great, but he's been fine. And right. I think that's kind of the idea.
And hats off to Doug Marrone for that, because they weren't able to get this much out of him in Minnesota. They really weren't.
Right.
My good buddy Pat's friend Thor Nystrom. I talked to him after Bradbury came here, and they said, Murph, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I'd be fine if he was sitting there behind somebody else.
Right.
But I don't know if you would want him as a starter. And excuse me. But no, Doug Marrone's done a really fine job there.
Yeah, I agree. So it's it's interesting. We'll see what happens. But I think ultimately, we're going to see some depth moves from the Patriots. They're going to bring some guys in that can help out depth wise.
Yep.
And I think edge is a spot where they're going to do it. Running back is a spot where they're going to do it. And offensive line isn't out of the question. I think offensive line is certainly a possibility where they say, hey, we want to get someone to improve our depth, whether it's at the tackle spot or at the guard spot, and bring someone in. So, and Jack asked about, Keon White on the edge, and we kind of mentioned this, Jack, but, Keon White's not an edge guy. Stinks on the edge. He's really an inside rusher. And he's useless on the edge. So you trade him because he's not a fit for what you want.
He's really not. He was drafted to come in here and be something different than what he's been asked to do over the last 2 seasons.
100%.
Doesn't mean he's a bad football player. It just means he's a bad fit here.
Correct.
And which goes back to, my original thought was I didn't like how little they got for him.
Right. And listen, I don't blame you for that. I do think that, maybe they could have waited until next week to try to get something more for Keon White. The problem is, I think he wasn't going to play again this Sunday.
No.
And so if he's not going to play again, how is the trade?
And we all knew
it.
When he was a healthy scratch, when he was a healthy scratch last week, we all knew.
Right.
We all knew it was coming.
And so that's the part where I look at it and just say, like, all right, you could have held on, but like, is anyone going to give you more? Maybe.
Right. Maybe.
But probably not. And the whole league's looking at it saying, well, you're not playing this guy. He's clearly not a fit for you. Why am I going to give you anything to get him? And so
Mobster here is right. He wasn't happy here.
Right.
And you can't have those guys skulking around in your locker room.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
Can't.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, let's we're going to do a quick ad break, and then we'll talk about the team the Patriots are playing this week, because the Patriots do have a game on Sunday. We haven't talked about it yet, but they do have a game. So we'll talk about that. We're going to do a quick ad break, and then we'll go from there. This ad break, of course, is for Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. All right. One of the things that I love about them is the only app that offers stacks, which means you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Drake May for passing yards and rushing yards and touchdowns? You can do all of that if you want, only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab. Mine this week. All right, here it is this week. My lineup this week. It's a good one. It's a GT one. I like it. I got 4 guys. Usually I do 3, but I got 4 guys in there. I got DeAndre Swift for more than 61.5 rushing yards against that pitiful Cincinnati defense. I have Drake May with more than 222.9 passing yards. It's a risk because the Falcons have a good defense, and we'll talk about that, but I like that one. Tyler Warren, more than 3.5 receptions, and Jonathan Taylor potentially the MVP of the league right now, outside of Drake May, with more than 116.5 rushing plus receiving yards. That feels like a layup for Jonathan Taylor this week. But, we'll see. So anyways, what are you going to do? You're going to download the app Prize Picks. You're going to put in the promo code CLNS. When you do that, you're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, Murph. Let's get into this Falcons game. Patriots playing the Falcons. The Falcons, in theory now, should be a very good team. But they're just kind of not. They're 3-4. What's crazy about the Falcons, you go through and look at their schedule, and you just say, like, okay, yeah, they played the Bucs super tough. They only lost by 3 points to the Bucs. They wiped the floor with the Vikings. They beat the Commanders, and they beat the Bills. And you're like, wow. And then you look at the roster, and you're like, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. They got edge rushers galore. You're like, oh, my goodness, this team. And then they go out and play, and you're like, what in the world is happening right now?
It is. They are the quintessential play up or play down to their opponent.
Yeah.
And it's something that that's haunting this team. And I'm hoping beyond hope that it's a blow cold week for them.
Right. And usually it's funny because usually they play a good game then a bad game then a good game then a bad game, and they were really bad last week against Miami. Yeah. And I mean, it's a Miami team that's losing 28-6 and looks absolutely horrendous tonight against Baltimore. Baltimore has their defense now. Listen, they had played without Kyle Williams for a few weeks, and I know Kyle Hamilton, for a few weeks, and Kyle Hamilton's a great player.
Yeah.
And so obviously he makes a big difference. But they went from not being able to stop anyone to, shutting down the Falcons last week, right? And not being able to score points. And, Miami hangs 34 points on Atlanta last week. And, and it's like now they got 6 against this Baltimore team. So it's just they're just very, very hot and cold. And I just think that the Patriots should be able to take advantage of that. But again, you can't have the dumb mistakes. You can't shoot yourself in the foot. You can't do those things because that's the stuff that's going to kill you.
That's it. The weeklies is where you're going to win and lose this game.
Right.
Again, I'm not trying to pump myself up here, but anybody who reads my weeklies, it's, win the turnover battle, be good in the red zone, limit the laundry. Those are the things. You can't give these guys free yards and extra opportunities. Now, you were able to get away with that last week. If you go back and look at the box score, you eliminate the score of last Sunday's game and you look at the box score, it wasn't perfect. It really wasn't. But what I loved was the fact that the Patriots were able to overcome not being perfect, and they haven't been able to do that over the past 2 seasons. And this game showed that they could do that. But it's going to be a tough test this weekend, and I want to see, if Drake is going to be able to handle the 3 high safety sets that they do and force them to get out of that look. How is he going to handle my favorite defense, quarters? Okay, I love quarters. Everybody knows I love a good roll of quarters.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to do that? And are we going to have the personnel to be able to do that? Is Ramondre going to be able to play? It's really imperative that he shakes off this toe injury and is able to get out there on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Tonga, Mob to ask about Tonga. I'm fairly certain that Tonga is playing.
Yeah.
But this is a situation where you look at the Bills and what the Bills were able to do, right? They're down 21-7 at the half. They come out and score a touchdown right away.
Yeah.
Right away. And then they get the ball and they drive down and they turn the ball over on downs. Then the Falcons fumble.
Yep.
Then it's like punt, field goal, and then Josh Allen throws a pick. They couldn't score after that, and I think that that's one of those things where the Falcons didn't necessarily play this great game.
No.
But they got out to a little bit of a lead, and they just held the Bills off, and the Bills weren't able to do anything. And I think that this is what it comes down to. And it wasn't like the Bills were making a million mistakes. Josh Allen had 2 picks, but one of them was at the end of the game. But like,
Right.
you know, Josh Allen had 2 picks against, but it's just like it wasn't really. It wasn't really like, oh, well, this isn't working. I also thought that the run game worked really well. James Cook had 17 carries for 87 yards. Like,
Right.
he averaged 5 yards a carry. Like that, I think they
Yeah.
should have probably ran a little bit more.
That's
You're
it.
able to run on this team. And to your point, we need Ramondre to play.
Yeah.
Because he's a good running back, and I
Yep.
think, listen, I want to see more Travion Henderson. I was happy with the way Travion Henderson looked on Sunday.
Yep.
I thought, to your point here with the keys, get him outside.
Yeah.
He's not a between tackles runner. He's not a shifty guy. He's not breaking a ton of tackles, but if you get him out in space, he can do something with the ball in his hands.
He's smaller. He's Lilliputian. Okay, he can't function in there unless it's an empty box, and you have an offensive line like he did in college that is just going to bully everybody into looking like the left lane of the Mass Pike.
Right.
All right, at 11:30 at night, because it's but that's not who he is. He needs to get into space. He needs clean air to fly through. And if he's flying through, lack of a better word, a jet wash, then it's just not going to happen for him. And that's not that's not who you saw in college. And I don't know why Josh had continuously ran him up into the A. What are you trying to prove? Running him up into the A gap time and again. Okay, it's not his game, and Josh is smarter than that. And so I really don't know. You don't play this game with your Johnson. You don't. You've got to be smart about it.
I almost wonder. It seems kind of dumb, but I almost wonder, like, are they holding him out a little bit? Or are they like, hey, just take your lumps running through the middle, and then we'll open you up as the season goes on when we feel more comfortable about where you're going.
Okay.
I think that's kind of dumb.
I think it's dumb on their part. I don't think it's dumb for you to point it out. That's for damn sure. Maybe that is. I don't understand the upside of doing that. What are you trying to do? Toughen the kid up?
Right.
Right.
Or maybe he just thought that's a weakness of your game, and we want you to get better at it or something.
That's what
doesn't make any sense to me. But it's. I don't really have a better explanation other than that. No, I will say.
I'm telling you now, the kid can't run through arm tackling dummies in August. He's not going to do it against NFL players on Sunday afternoon in October.
It's just not who he is. And that's okay. But just use him for what he's good at. And I think what he's good at is pretty good. And I think that's. So anyways, that's kind of where I'm at with him. Run him outside a little bit more. Give him those toss sweeps. Give him those, powers outside, and get these athletic guards and tackles pulling out in front of him. Right, run that crack toss with Matt Collins coming in and hitting the linebacker. Like, that's the stuff you want to see, and I think the Patriots should be able to do that a little bit with the Falcons. The Falcons also are a team that typically gets a lot of sacks, and you look at when they're good. Right. Mm-hmm. You look at when they're good, they're able to get pressure after the quarterback. Now they risked it all to get to. They traded a first-round pick in next year's draft to go up and get another edge rusher. So they got 2 edge rushers, right? In the game against the Bills, they had 4 sacks.
Yep.
Last week, I don't even think they had a sack last week. I think not only did they not have a sack. Well, actually, I might be speaking on turn here. They may have had 1 sack. I think they had one sack last week, and they had like 1 single pressure last week. Mm-hmm. They just weren't able to get after the quarterback. So if you want, if they're going to really be those guys, they have to get after the quarterback. And so, if you're gonna win this game, it's going to come down to protecting the quarterback, not allowing them to get after Drake May. And I think that's really what it's going to end up coming down to.
The last key on my ring that's coming out tomorrow morning is keep Drake pretty.
Yeah.
He has got to be upright and not uptight in this game. What I would like to see them do is to stretch this field horizontally before they stretch it vertically, get the run game going that way, get their linebackers going from sideline to sideline, chasing people.
Hmm.
All right, open up the middle of the field against the quarters. Okay, because it's a fantastic defense. It really is if you have the personnel to do it, and then extend those slants down the field, and let Drake start dropping those dimes into milk cartons,
Right.
because it's not a barrel. He's dropping dimes into milk cartons when this kid has the time and he can step up into the pocket. I
Yeah.
was so wrong, folks. I was so wrong
You weren't
when
alone.
you know. Um, he hadn't played a lot of football. There wasn't a lot of film to play. He was a young kid, and I still say Joe Alt is going to freaking Canton. But
Yeah.
I mean, folks are right. You have to start. You gambled and you took this kid. I mean, granted, he was the third one. If the
Right.
Patriots were picking first, we would not have Drake May right now.
Well, that's the
Don't,
other part of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
please don't convince yourself that somebody brilliant was there and said, let's trade up and get Drake May. That wasn't going to happen. That didn't
Right.
happen. And if they had the first pick, we'd be stuck with Caleb Williams.
Which is interesting. It is kind of interesting that it fell that way, and
Yep.
what's so fascinating about it is that you look at, and I go back to, who is it? Who the heck is the guy? Is it Lovey? Was it Lovey Smith that was in?
Cincinnati.
No, that was in not Lovey Smith. Who was the coach that was in Houston that won the last game? It was like an FU out the door. D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans is getting
D'Amico
fired,
Ryans. Yep.
right? Because Ryans isn't there anymore. Yeah, he got
Right.
fired.
No, he's gone.
So D'Amico Ryans, as he's leaving, is like, F you, I'm going to win this game.
Right.
He wins the last game. They
Yep.
go from the number 1 pick to the number 2 pick. Bryce Young gets drafted number 1. CJ
Right.
Stroud gets drafted number 2. And, they end up, and of course, CJ Stroud ends up being a significantly better player than Bryce Young. I still believe that Bryce Young can do it.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious that CJ Stroud's a better player than him right now.
Right.
And so it just kind of worked out for you
Right.
that that you got that later pick. The same thing happened with Mayo, right? Gerard Mayo goes in, and the Bills, wanted to lose that game intentionally. Right. Well, I guess technically it was. I guess technically I'm talking about the year before, where Belichick's last year. But nevertheless, Belichick's last year, he loses that last game to the Jets. Right. Everyone in the world thought he was going to win that game. He loses that last game to the Jets. You end up with the number 3 pick, and you end up with Drake May. And so it is really kind of funny how things change like that. And you end up with a guy that's better just because.
Yeah.
And I think
he's the best quarterback in the class.
It's really interesting.
None of them else are doing the things that Drake's doing. And Josh deserves a hell of a lot of credit for it.
Right.
Drake is perfect for him.
Yeah. Don't give me Bo Nix's stats. Shut up.
No. Yeah.
No one's taking Bo Nix over Drake May. Stop it. He also played a full year last year. So that's why his numbers are bigger. Right.
Right.
But no, it's interesting. It's really, it really comes down to, I think, keeping Drake healthy, keeping Drake upright. And then defensively, the Patriots have been
shut down this running game.
Yes.
Okay. Stack this box and shut down this running game. That should be priority number 1 for this defense. I don't give a hang. I really don't.
Yeah.
About about London. I don't care about Pitts. Let him go and throw down the field to these guys. I give a tiny hang about Pitts, because we have enough problems with tight ends as it is.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to cover him, but I'm convinced that Junior will make a mistake and turn the ball over that way. Okay.
Well,
that you cannot let this team run over you on Sunday. Now, the other key that I have out is the fact that the Patriots really have to take care of the ball while they're matriculating down the field early in this game. They cannot let the Falcons get out to an early lead. I'm tired of this scripted stuff in this. Go in with a plan.
It's bizarre.
Okay, it's bizarre. You have to stop playing this game on the fly and thinking that you'll just adjust later, because sooner or later Drake is going to have a bad first first series or two series, and a ball's going to get turned over. They're going to turn they're going to give good field position to the other team, and that 7-0 lead is going to be a 17-0 lead.
Yeah.
It could happen really quick. Go in with a plan on defense.
Right. That's true. And I think it's bizarre that the Patriots are like the best team in the NFL from drives 3 to the end of the game, but are one of the worst defenses in the NFL for drives 1 and 2. It's just strange. And it's like, why? You can't line up and play the first two series. It's just strange. And so, listen, it's worked out for them so far. I don't think it's necessarily that big of an issue this weekend, although I'd like to see them start to clean that up. But you get to the playoffs, you can't just give up 7 to 14 points just because. It's just like, that's silly. And so, I think for me, it's try to get out to an early lead. And then once you have that early lead, you just hold on. Right. And then Bijan becomes less of an issue because yes, they're still going to run, but they can't run as much. If you're up 21-7, they can't run as much as they want to. And I think that's, I will say the Patriots still haven't allowed a 50-yard rusher, which is wild.
Right.
And so I just think like that might be in jeopardy this week because Robinson is extremely good and he just does get his, but maybe they just keep it going this week. I don't know. I have a hard time betting against the Patriots run defense.
Right.
If they can stretch them out a little bit, maybe. But again, the Patriots linebackers, those first few weeks were so bad. And then, they really kind of turned it on and looked great since then. So
the last 3 weeks, those guys, as the units have really started to click over the last 3 weeks, the linebacking core, the offensive line, even in the back end, the only issues that we still have are at safety. Okay, and it goes back to it was too early to take a safety. They should have taken it. They're just not deep enough at the safety position, and I think that's hurt them in the red zone. They just don't have that guy that is able to run the back end as they have in the past. They're very young, they're very inexperienced, and they don't communicate really well. I want to see more man coverage this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would definitely help, in especially down there inside the red zone. But no, it's hard to rip this team apart. I mean, it's a likable group of guys who are playing good football, who enjoy being in the locker room together.
Yeah.
And honestly, folks, how much more fun have you had this season than you've had over the last 5? When there's no controversies, there's no back and forth, there's no, asking Tom Brady what's up with the contract and him saying, go talk to the owner. Never said go talk to Bill. Said go talk to the owner.
Right.
All right. So it's just been a joy, and I'm not gonna rip it apart. I'm gonna enjoy this ride because I haven't been able to do that for a very long time.
Well, and you hope that it continues, right? But you just one thing I think as Patriots fans that we've learned is that you never know when things are going to end.
Right.
And so just enjoy when you're here now. Right, you got this now. The team's playing well together. And listen, I'll tell you, like we all know this, winning cures all, right? So like Stephon Diggs is happy and is a great leader right now, and Milton Williams is happy and is a great leader right now, and all these guys are great leaders, and it looks awesome, and everyone's happy, and everyone's working their tail off, and everyone looks great. And it's like, well, you lose a few games in a row, and that may not be the case, right?
Right.
Who knows? But right now, enjoy what you have because this team is a lot of fun to watch, and the way Drake May is playing right now. By the way, I don't care about this whole MVP talk or whatever. Right?
Oh God,
that's for Get Up on ESPN, so they have something to talk about for the 4 hours they got to go.
Right.
I don't care about that at all. Maybe he is the MVP right now. We're 8 weeks into the season, so it doesn't really matter. By the way, if Jonathan Taylor scores 30 touchdowns this year, he's the MVP.
Right.
That's just it. That's
sorry.
It. Like,
the way
he
it
has
goes.
to be. So, it's one of those things where, like, if they're playing exactly what they're playing right now, I don't know, May might have an historic year, but Jonathan Taylor's going to have almost an even more historic year. So you kind of have to give it to him. I don't know. So anyways, it's one of those things where, like, that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Who cares about that? We're 8 weeks into the season. But
that's it. We're here to talk about football,
exactly.
not awards that some guy's going to get in January and February.
Correct. Speaking of talking about football, did you see this clown show coach or this old coach or whatever? The guy that was like, I don't know if he was Last Chance U coach or whoever this guy is, Coach Brown or Dan Brown or Dave Brown or something. This guy went on. So Mina Kimes talks about Coach Jason Brown is the schmuck's name. Netflix Last Chance U, apparently. This guy went on and he rips Mina Kimes apart because Mina Kimes said, "How do you beat quarters defense? You throw over the top." And he's like, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Go get me a sandwich." Like, and he's drawing up this stuff. Yeah. No, it was bad. And it was just like, what are you talking? And so the entirety of football Twitter today has been just absolutely ripping this guy apart.
Good.
And showing old clips of Peyton Manning on the whiteboard and Kurt Warner.
That's exactly how you beat beat quarters.
It's the whole thing that you're supposed to do. And then he goes, "You tell me you're going to throw a seam against cover 3? You're insane." Yes. And it's like, what? Yes, that's the whole point. Yes, of course you throw a seam against
I'm gonna go Hoss all week. Please. That's what you do to beat quarters. You run slants. You bust up the seam.
Right.
It's you have to have the personnel to do it.
Right.
Okay, but this is how you do it. All right. I live quarters. I love quarters, and so I know how to beat it. Right. And I spell it out tomorrow. Please come check out at diehardbostonsportsfans.com.
Yep.
But that's ridiculous.
That was unbelievable. The clip is just, it's just him ranting and raving. He's on the whiteboard writing things down, and it's like, he's so wrong.
Right.
It's incredible because the thing is, and listen, I'm not going to pretend to be some expert or whatever, but like when you see the
neither of us is Taylor Kyles, but
But it's like, all right. And Manning was drawing it up. Manning drew it up perfectly. And it was a clip of him last year on the Manning cast with Eli and Belichick. And he's drawing up this play called Pittsburgh. And he's like, okay, here's what we got to do. We got 4 wide, or maybe they got 3 wide with 2 guys on the left, tight end on the right, and an outside corner. He's like, all right, I'm going to run the back out of the backfield on a shallow.
Right.
I'm going to run the tight end. I forget where
up the right seam.
I think he had a comeback. He had a comeback to try to hold that safety, that right side safety.
Yep.
Then he has the inside guy on the left side run a hitch at 10 yards or an in at 10 yards, depending on what you want to do. Now that safety's committed to that spot, right? So you say, okay, there's a safety committed there. And the corner, who's playing outside leverage because theoretically he has help in the middle.
Right.
Gets beat by the post because he doesn't have help in the middle anymore because that guy becomes man up on him as soon as he starts going. So it's like, that's
unreal.
Exactly the way you do it.
You attack the flat, okay, and then you attack the middle of the short middle of the field, then you attack the intermediate middle of the field, and then you attack the deep middle of the field. That's how you freaking deconstruct quarters.
Right.
This man was actually paid to coach football. This isn't. He must have been a high school coach because high school coaches know everything.
It was hilarious because it was just like, what do you like? And the fact that he's talking to me, and it's like Mina Kimes, and he's only doing it. So this is the thing is, the real thing is
doing it to put the woman in her place.
He's doing it to put the woman in place. Number one, he's doing it because he is a nobody and he wants more attention. Right. And so you call out someone like Mina Kimes who's correct.
Right.
But then you get all these incels that are sitting there saying, "Oh, he's right. Of course he's right. What are you talking about?" It's like, dude, stop it.
Stop.
And so it was funny, and it was the entirety of of football Twitter just went at this guy like, you are an absolute moron.
Right.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
Clue. You were clueless.
It was awesome. It was incredible,
clueless. Dude. You were completely clueless. Like I said, I will sit here and I will die on this rock that you do not know what you're talking about.
Right.
You really don't. And you don't, because everybody there already told you it. And just Jay Spina, I never want to see Asante Samuel Jr. here in a Patriots uniform. I really don't. I am that petty.
Yes. Same.
I'm not petty. That's it.
Same. Yes. They win in 07 if he just catches the ball. But, you know, what are you going to do? So, anyways, or it doesn't come off his man to try to make an interception when, when Rodney does it. But, you know, what are you going to do? So, anyways, let me tell you something. How about the fact that what if the Patriots had never won those next three?
Ooh.
Like, we'd be sitting here.
Yep.
I mean, that's the worst. Yeah. That loss is the worst loss in the history of sports, right?
Yeah.
Worst single loss, at least in the history of sports. So it's like we'd be sitting here wallowing in our sorrow.
It was worse than whoever was the horse that lost to upset.
Right. You know, it's one of those things where you're just like, oh my God. So anyways, it's all this stuff, and thank God we got three more after that, because between that and 2011, it's like if we had never won another one, it would be rough times around here.
In the grasp.
So I know.
But
so anyways,
this was a blast. Did you want to touch on anything else?
I think that's it, man. That's all I got.
All right. So I got a prediction. Do you want a prediction? The Patriots win this game 28-3.
I like that. 28-3. Oh my God, that would be so good. I would love that so much.
It really would.
That would be truly my favorite thing ever. That would just be incredible.
It would be fantastic. But no, I mean, like I said before, folks, just go out and enjoy it, because you never know when it's going to end.
Yeah,
you really don't. And let's just it looks like the Patriots hit the lotto with Drake May as a human being and as a ball player.
Seems that way.
I mean, hats off to what he did, dressing up as Pikachu or whatever, going to see the kids at the party the other day. That was great.
Yeah, that was really cool.
He's just a good kid, good human being, and a fantastic football player. And I can't believe that we could possibly be going through this again.
It's unbelievable.
Could we be this lucky twice in a lifetime?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a lot older than everybody except LJ here, so I don't know how much of the 70s you all remember. But it was rough around here for a long time, and there was a point in my life where I said, if the Patriots won one Super Bowl, I'd die happy. We've got 6 of them, and now maybe we have a quarterback that's going to take us to a couple more if things break right. Yeah. But this year, I don't want to hear anything. I care nothing about strength of schedule. I really don't. That means nothing to me. That always changes between now and wherever. And I know that Nicky Wright is watching this show, because he stalks me. He does. I'm convinced that he's the guy that lost my last account. The last 2 times, Junior, that your Lord and Savior, Patty Mahomes, won the Super Bowl, they played 10 teams with losing records. So I don't want to hear it.
Right.
10 teams in both of those seasons with losing records. So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I really don't.
No, it's a great point. And it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you play. This is not the 2021 Patriots. That was a paper tiger.
Right.
They were playing well, but they really weren't a good team.
No.
I think this team, and Evan Lazar I was listening to the Catch 22 podcast, and Evan Lazar was talking about it. He said, my evaluation started with, is this Patriots team a good team? Are they good? Can they make the jump from a bad team to a good team? They've done that. That. Now can they make the jump from a good team to a great team? And that's what we have to see if they can do. And, and listen, I don't know if they can do it. I hope that they can, obviously, but I don't know if they can do it. But again, I'm enjoying the ride while we're here. Right. And I'm just trying, I'm trying not to take any of it for granted, because you just never know what's going to happen. And by the way, speaking of, before we leave, you're talking about great humans. Did you see this Brad Marchand story?
Yeah. Wow.
My goodness. Listen, I know he doesn't play for the Bruins anymore, but if you wanna
No
get
kidding.
choked up a little bit,
Yeah.
okay, go watch the Brad Marchand story. I just happened to catch it on 7 News. I had heard some stuff.
Yep.
I hadn't heard him talking about it. One of his good friends who trains him as well lost his 10-year-old daughter to cancer. He coaches a 18U hockey team up in Nova Scotia where Brad's from. And him, Brad, and 5 of his buddies went in and coached for his childhood friend. And and so he could sit there and spend time with his family. And you just like, and you know, kudos to Florida as well, because they were on board with it. They supported him. They let him take a leave of absence. But the ability for them to go do that and, you know, just drop everything they're doing and go there to support their friends was really incredible. And that's the type of thing where, you know, it's one of the reasons why I hated seeing Marchand leave, but I was happy for him because I knew the type of guy he was. And so it's like, I'm happy that he's on that team winning, but I still want him on my team because he's so awesome. You know, again, not just as a player, but as a guy, you know, and I think that, you know, that's really what he's all about. So anyways, it's if you haven't seen the story, go watch it because it's truly an incredible
It's giving
story.
back. It's really giving back in a way that few people do in life, that we wish more people did in life. He's in a position where he could do that. Like I said, like Pat said, hats off to the Panthers for allowing him to do that. And I think it's just a beautiful thing. A little bit on the same note, Pat has a relative that is in the hospital right now. There's a GoFundMe out there. Pat will tweet it out after the show. If you can go and just, even if all you can do is give a retweet and light a candle for this young lady, I would really appreciate it. I know Pat would. If you can send $5, you know, to this, if we get everybody to send $5 to this, I would consider it a personal favor, and I will send you if you do, I will send you an autographed Team Butchie baseball. I'll get
Look at that.
autograph a baseball for
come
you.
on now. You can't beat that. I appreciate that, Murph. She throws you out there. She deals with MG, which is hard to pronounce, but it's an autoimmune disease. And it goes back and forth. And she got married a few months ago and looked great at her wedding and was, you know, exhausted, but up and moving. And unfortunately, she's in the ICU. She had to get trach. She can't breathe. And so, you know, it goes back and forth, and it's a mess. And so anyways, it's tough, but I appreciate you supporting Murph, and I really appreciate that. And it's hard. It's
happy to. I know you do the same for me.
Yeah.
And,
well,
it's like I said, fam.
We try to take care of each other.
Sorry, I didn't mean to drag any. I don't know.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate that, Murph. So. All right, listen. Before you go, though, Murph, we're out of time here, I think, or I guess we're pretty much done with stuff here. But before you go, make sure everyone knows where they can read you if you're on any shows coming up soon or anything like that.
I'm in negotiations to start a new show once a week with an old buddy of mine.
That'd be awesome.
We'll see if that gets put through. You can read me at diehardbostonsportsfans.com. Every week I do my monster keys to the game. I'm not as active as I used to be when I was actually getting paid to do this, but I'm still out there. That's a love. And please follow my new account on Twitter, TMurph207S. You know, leave the last S, put that last S on there for savings. And you know, Pat, thank you for having me on.
I appreciate that, Murph. Yeah, you came through in the clutch here, Matt. Still a little under the weather. Hopefully we'll be back Sunday, but we're not sure. We'll see what happens. So
LJ, yes, mock draft Mondays will be returning this year if this all goes through.
I love it. That would be great. So, all right, Murph. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for the chat for being here and for watching and following along. Be good to each other and go Pats.